So, before I begin, it's so good to be here. I've been gone for a while, went to Alaska, did not take a plane, took boats and trains. And I'm not gonna lie, there were some really tough spots, but it was fun, it was rugged, I saw a lot of beauty. Then I came home and got sick, after all good vacations. So I'm so happy to be here. This month is anger. As I'm smiling, in sign language, I taught people with developmental disabilities for 33 years. And so for many people, I learned how to do a little bit of sign. And the first thing was this. If your anger, this is anger, right here. If I'm like, I'm angry, do you think the person who can't hear is going to get a double message? I'm angry. No, you gotta. It has to be congruent, right? So this morning, the energy, I would love to invite you to have an intention of what you want to walk out of here today with. Could be through the beautiful music of our band today and our vocalists. It could be just going outside and seeing a flower. It could be the message. It could be the food. It could be anything with great gratitude. So I'd like to spend 30 seconds of silence for you to find an intention before we go forward. Okay? Here we go. Let's take a deep breath together. Release. One more. Release. Last one. Namaste. So, I have been reading this book for years, for about 5 years. And I get through a whole chapter and I return it to the chapter again and again. Because I feel like the practice of that is a lot. So I need to convince myself as I read it. So as I was saying about congruency, this month is about the fear and the furious, and today is about mobilizing anger. And the first thing I thought was, well, I could get a little angry about that. I don't like that. It's supposed to be inspirational on anger. Whew, that is very uncomfortable, let me tell you. So I'm going to read you some Brené Brown, and I think it's such a great opportunity for us to deal with some really uncomfortable stuff in our spiritual practice, because we're all feeling pretty darn uncomfortable with the way the government is going, and things in our personal lives are always rising and falling, and conflict and peace, and it's a roller coaster. So I love what she has to say. It is called Rising Strong, the reckoning, the rumble, the revolution. Walking into our stories of hurt can feel dangerous, but the process of regaining our footing in the midst of struggle is where our courage is tested and our values are forged. Our stories of struggle can be big ones, like the loss of a job, the end of a relationship, the finding out of a serious illness, or smaller ones, like conflict with a friend, a colleague, a family member. Regardless of the magnitude or the circumstance, the rising strong process is the same. We reckon with our emotions and get curious about what we're feeling. We rumble with our stories, don't we? Until we get to a place of truth. And we live in this process every day until it becomes a practice and creates nothing short of a revolution in our lives. Rising strong after a fall is how we cultivate wholeheartedness. It's the process that teaches us the most about who we are. So, one of the things I always do is I always look to Webster for the definition of the topic. I always find such spiritual meanings in that too. So today is mobilizing anger. What do we do with anger? Mobilizing, according to Webster's dictionary, the process of moving something from a state of rest into active use or service, preparing people or resources for a specific purpose or action. That sounds okay. Anger, a strong passion or emotion of upset or perceived injury of oneself or others. Whew. And this I know to be true. Reverend Deborah talks about pain pushing until vision pulls. But let's get into a little bit of that pain. Most of us, the way our brains are wired, through our very limited evolution in consciousness, because we haven't gone all that far, we keep repeating the same things thousands of years later, just a different face on it, right? Pain. We are not taught to be able to sit with discomfort. We are not taught really how to sit with our grief. We are not taught what to do with our darn anger, the injustices we feel, the betrayals we feel. Here I've given my heart and someone broke it. And I know that I was raised as the youngest of four. My brothers were like 9 and 10 years older. My sister was 5 years older than I. And being the youngest, I was kind of pushed aside, you know? She's young, yeah. So I had to find a voice. Otherwise, I would be invisible. But I also decided that I was going to be the peacemaker. Don't know where I got that, but my mom was a lot like that. So I didn't want any discomfort. I wanted to make peace. I don't know if any of you all out here are peacemakers. I know many of you are troublemakers, so you don't have to raise your hand for that one. You're kind of the Spitfires out there. But because we're not taught, and our brain is wired for survival, and survival says you must protect yourself at all costs. Now, this body is not infinite, but the soul is infinite. So the part of us that is never born and never dies, that will continue in the infinite universe, so we think so far, it's still a mystery. But when we're in bodies, feeling discomfort is not a thing that our brain tells us that's okay. But you know what? It's our ability to be able to tell our stories without having any type of perfectionism. We are not made to be perfect. We're whole, perfect, and complete in a spiritual sense. But the diversity is the richness. And so part of this journey, if it's all God, is that anger is a tool. Anger can be transformed into actions, mobilizing, to fight people who've actually lost their way, and not them, but their ideas. Because we cannot kill ignorance by killing the person. Another face will rise, and another will rise. We must eliminate ignorance through education, an example. Everybody hold on to your chair on that one. And it's not about perfection. It's about accepting and embracing with your whole heart everything, including our failures, including when we fall. Because the truth is, if we choose to love, if we choose to go out there and do things to assist others, be in relationships, we're going to fall. I guarantee it just comes with the territory, right? If you're going to love, you're taking a risk. And if you're taking a risk and you have that courage to have friendships and lovers and children and still talk to your parents and your kids, then we have to be able to say that's an important part of our story, because that's where we become authentic. We become authentic, transparent, and healing can happen. If we decide to try to live by image alone, we will wither. We will wither, and we will build all kinds of fortresses around our feelings. Nobody can get to us, but nothing can get in. And that will take its toll. Belonging is essential to the human, and love is essential to the human. I know for myself, I've fallen in love with my dog some more than people I have in my life. Because it's a connection. It's a human connection that we have to acknowledge. And anger is a part of that journey. And how we mobilize that anger, look at what happens when people become narcissistic and close themselves off, and it's me, I. We see how horrible that is. To take advantage of our fellow brothers and sisters, to harm another for finances. I mean, if you really think about that, that's incredibly awful. That a human life, any life, would be sacrificed. But unless we sit with discomfort and move through things and speak our word and speak out, especially to ourselves when we do self-reflection, we won't be able to grow as fast or as deep with our spiritual practice, because it takes practice to choose to be vulnerable. It is the scariest thing to get rejected. It is scary when you don't belong. I don't know about you, but that started with dodgeball. You know, I mean, you see it. Who didn't pick me? What's wrong with me? And it's kind of like part of our worthiness is that if we're willing to sit with discomfort, if we're willing to sit with the pain, but being on the move at the same time. I remember Michael Beck was saying, this man came up to him, and I've said this many times. This man came up to Reverend Michael Beckwith and said, brother, I'm in hell. I'm in hell. I'm in hell. And he goes, Dr. Michael Beckwith goes, that's okay, brother. Just don't set up camp there. Just keep on going. And that's what mobilizing anger is about, is how can we transform something that all of us experience, that all of us are challenged with, and we don't have to hide it. We could stand here and say, I'm not perfect. I struggle. And here's how I am trying to figure it out. Because sometimes we will never know. It'll be a mystery. But it's the process and the curiosity itself that makes a difference. Because we can transform that anger into actions that revolutionize our lives, give us purpose, give us more connection to more people that we may never have reached out. So courage is a moment-to-moment thing. To be vulnerable is a moment-to-moment thing. And that's a tough call. I know, I'll tell you, share two stories that really are impactful for me. One is I foster adopted about many, many kids, but 3 especially, 2 boys and a girl. One of the boys right there, hi Dougie. And there's one of my kids watching today. Hi, Sophia. All y'all out there. And after 15 years, one of my kids in their 40s have gotten really ill with mental illness. And everything I thought I was supposed to be, I felt challenged because she wouldn't get help. My peace was just shattered. And I had so much guilt when I went to bed at night thinking, I'm supposed to save this adult child. I'm a spiritual person. I'm supposed to sit through the pain and the difficulties to help her rise above. Whew. Boundaries aren't doors that close. They're things that we have to do sometimes to keep our peace when someone else is toxic. Because we cannot be the sacrificial lamb. And you know, I'm telling you this because I know that everywhere that there's danger, whether it be on the airplane when you have to put your mask on first before you put it on the kids, or whether you're going to jump in a pool of water and you don't know how to swim to save somebody else so that you don't drown, it's better to stay on the edge of the pool and throw them a life preserver, right? So why do we carry around this guilt like we're supposed to fix people? This is their journey. We can love and have compassion without drowning. Thich Nhat Hanh says, no, it's Buddha who said, once you start serving the suffering and you start suffering, you need to get out. Now you're part of the problem. But that journey is hard. You know, who we think a good person is, what a good person looks like, and what you think a good person looks like, and you're not meeting any of those expectations. Our worthiness, our self-esteem, our judgment starts rising above. And in this time, we have so much emphasis on image. If it looks good, it must be good. And I remember my mentor, Terry Cole Whitaker, when I was in college. I worked for that ministry, and she was a metaphysical evangelist. She was on TV back in the 80s, and the motto was, prosperity is your divine right. It was all image during the Reagan years, right? Silk, shoes, you know, pearls, whatever. And it still is today. If those things made us happy, boy, there'd be a lot more happier people on the planet. You know, the movie stars, the entertainers, the people, that have $1 trillion that still aren't happy, that still are miserable and trying to inflict that on others. It's because it was Alfred Adler who said in the book Beyond Success and Failure, he said that people with really good self-esteem that have conquered their judgments for the most part, when they're happy, they want to bring other people up with them. They want other people to be happy too. Don't you feel that way? I do. And when I get over being mad at someone, I wish that for them too. Maybe not right away, but eventually I do. People who do not feel good about themselves have a superiority complex. They push people's heads down so they could feel better, because they don't feel better already, right? And so psychology says that when we can incorporate the whole story of who we are and reflect on it and make changes and shifts and be curious about, why do I feel that way? You know, instead of blaming, well, it's because my mother did this and I did this and they did this. And the story can be the kind that creates that triangle of victim, villain, and hero. That triangle is the very thing that creates all drama, and it's who we have, what we have in society. The interesting thing is when we can step out of the villain, victim, and hero, we get a different perspective. This is why this building stands today. The work of Resource Center for Nonviolence has a whole tons of classes and books on how to be able to communicate without anger and a lot of your ego in it. That is huge. Why? Because we think telling the truth, we want to look more whole. We want people to look at us better than we may feel about ourselves, right? So we hide things, we cover up things. And the truth is, if people see who we are, they will love us as we are. And if we practice our kindness and we struggle through our anger and our judgment, eventually we will not learn just a lesson, but we will practice something that will get us to our vision and our purpose through that pain a lot faster. I want to sign up for faster. I'm willing sometimes to be in discomfort. But I thought, what a challenge to be curious about how to be okay, to tell the truth without worrying about hurting someone's feelings, but saying it kindly. Or stepping out, doing something else, making a new friend, learning a new skill, doing something that I might look foolish at, that I don't know real well. It strengthens the synapses in the brain and the pathways. I mean, there's so many positive things to mobilize your anger. But it isn't fun all the time. And kind of like, that's how, gotta have fun, gotta look for the things that feel good, gotta be comfortable. Being vulnerable and courageous usually is the opposite of comfortable. And let me tell you, choosing comfort has not been my best friend. Not that we can't be comfortable, but sometimes we need to take hold of working our way through those feelings of pain and anger. And if we could sit long enough in the pain, in the anger, and feel our way through, contemplate, be curious, self-reflect, not judgment, but self-reflect. Think about the different kinds of experiences we all could have, rather than doing things to try to make ourselves look better or cover who we are. Because the truth is, if you went to a movie and everything was perfect, there was no struggle, everyone's living a great life, no one got sick, no one died, nobody fought, most people walk out. I mean, because struggle is a part of this journey. And even anger is a part of this journey, but it's not to explode on others, it's to harness the anger, to learn from the anger, to learn a practice from the anger so you can be a spiritual warrior of peace. So when you see someone and you hear someone being racist or ugly, you know how to stand. You know how to stand, not reacting with violence or ugly threats or anything like that, but you know how to stand in who you are and your values and what you believe. And isn't that why we're here? Yeah. We are here, yes. We all are here to feel better, to live more life. And part of that is the not so cool stuff. The stuff that doesn't make us feel good. But most of us, because we haven't been taught, don't know there are gifts in there. Don't know that sitting with that, moving through, being willing to be courageous to sit through those feelings all the way through, that the gifts will make the other side of vision even more exciting, even more love, opening more doors, having the courage to do more things instead of hiding out, trying to make sure the image and nobody can see behind the curtain, Mr. Oz, And who do we gravitate towards, really? We gravitate towards people who are bold in their music, who think outside the box. Philosophy, psychology, spirituality, music, art. I mean, Picasso, they were so critical of Picasso, they thought he was like, why are we paying this guy money for writing, being a kindergartner, making all these weird, symbols and squares and triangles and coloring them different colors? Because, see, our beauty is our wholeness. And our wholeness is authentic. And that means, stories are good. Stories are the way we communicate, the way we understand. But if your story's always about the drama, always about the villain, the victim, and the hero, you will cycle that forever. And some people will say, heard that, what's the point? But if your story has the falls and how you got up, trust me, people are listening to that. Everybody wants to rise with dignity. Everybody wants to know how to pull, the shackles from your heart to allow someone in but still have boundaries. Or when you're a mom thinking, I'm a horrible person because I can't help my adult child, and they say you abandoned me, and you're like, cry yourself to sleep. And after 2 months now, I feel so much better. Because as soon as she hits rock bottom and starts taking care of her situation, I'm still there. And that's in any addiction that people go through. If you've had children, adult children with addiction or family members, it's the rock bottom. It's their journey. And that's one of the hardest things to do. And I want to bring out something that I feel is really refreshing right now in politics. Hunter Biden has been coming out on YouTube. And, he was the target of so much vile, negative news media. And now that his dad is not president, he's going on all these shows like Joe Rogan and all these different podcasts. And he's coming out and he's admitting, yes, I'm an addict. Yes, da-da-da-da. And he's just sharing, and he's so transparent, and he's so real that people on the, other side of the political whatever it is are coming to him, thank you for sharing, thank you for being open, thank you for being honest. And he goes, some of the vile things that still get said to him, he makes jokes out of, and it's so refreshing. He's owning his whole story. And he said the saddest thing is that my behavior affected my dad's legacy. That's still the one that I struggle with. And I think about that, how all of a sudden he's now a celeb, but for the right reasons. He's compassionate. He's trying to tell people about addiction, what helped him, how to stand and own it. That's a huge gift. And it crosses those political boundaries to humanitarian values. And that's why we need in our practice to mobilize our anger, to sit with our pain, to be curious about our pain, to be courageous and vulnerable, to experience more mystery. And so that's a challenge for me, and I challenge you this week. Namaste. Oh, prayer. Yeah, gotta do that. Whew. I know this, and I know this for sure, that we are all connected by one spirit, one infinite intelligence. And this infinite intelligence is the mystery of life itself. It's the mysteries that we challenge ourselves to unfold, explore, and are so driven to find that vision. And I know that peace and serenity and abundance and love is through that door of vulnerability. It's through that door of courageous, yes, I can. Yes, I will. I will sit with whatever it takes to look more into the mystery, to know that my wholehearted story is not one of perfectionism, but one when I challenge and I fall, I know how to get back up. Because there's only one of us here walking the same walk. And knowing that we love our brothers and sisters and all the planet and everything it's included, I know that we will stand strong and tall and make this revolution about mobilizing our anger, transforming our anger into vision and love and action. Thank you. Because what the mind knows is our thoughts. What the heart knows is our emotions. And our actions are with our hands. May all three be in alignment to say, amen. Amen. Thank you.